Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Avid Learning. Welcome to another exciting live session of Avid Online. I also hope you have been staying in and have been tuning in to our online episodes and live sessions. And for those who have not attended an Avid Learning program before, a very brief introduction. We are a public programming platform and the cultural arm of the SR Group. We conduct close to 150 programs a year in the area of art, culture and heritage, innovation, and literature across the formats of panel discussions, workshops, masterclasses, and festivals. In October of 2019, we completed 10 years of programming. Avid Online, our digital further learning campaign was launched across our social media platforms as a direct response to COVID-19 crisis on the 1st of April 2020. The objective was to enable our patrons and stakeholders like yourselves to engage with a range of topics across the breadth of the arts. The focus of the campaign is to keep members of the creative community like yourselves connected, facilitate interactions, and exchange of ideas. We continue to evolve our campaign by expanding our formats, introducing our existing IPs, and working with our longtime collaborators to present thematic programs and series. And now, without further ado, Literature Live and Avid Learning present The Art of the Monologue, an exciting live masterclass with theatre director, actor, business communications coach, Yuki Elias. For more about her, please refer to her bio that has been posted in the chat section. Actually, I hope it has been posted, but has also been emailed to you earlier in the day. In today's session, our talented and much feted instructor will be sharing tools of writing monologues, drawing from her experience of playwriting, collaboration, and performance. Please note the masterclass will be about 75 minutes. And at Avid, we always encourage audience participation, even in this virtual Zoom world we're living in. Thank you to all of you who have participated in the contest. We had an amazing response and wish we could accommodate all of you all in the entries and present all of them today. But because of the paucity of time, Yuki has chosen two pieces by Thomas T. and Aditya Manik that will be presented by two very special surprise guests. This will be followed by a 15-minute Q&A of questions submitted by the audience. So please keep them ready. Start posting them in the chat box. So without further ado, let's get started. Thank you once again for tuning in and take it away, Yuki. Look forward to an exciting session.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Asad. Thank you so much, Avid team, for having me back on to do something that actually has been an interest that's been growing new for me, which is writing and dramatic writing. I come from a background of theater, and so dramatic writing has become an extension. I began as a performer, I became a director, and I decided then that as a theater group, we need to start creating original work. We want to create original scripts where our voice is very strong. And therefore, today, what I'm sharing with you is not my wealth of knowledge of 20 years of writing, because I am a new creator of writing. But I want to share with you how we approach characters and monologues from the sense of performance. Being actors, what do we look for in a piece of monologue? As directors, what are we looking for? How are we looking for the writing to really serve the purpose of a larger plot and a dramatic narrative? So, this is a big deep dive into monologue writing, and I hope you've got a piece of paper and a pen next to you. And if I can request Dhwani to put the presentation on, it will help you look at the tips that we are going through for your writing. We will try and write a little bit today as well, and we will try and share with you some tools that we use when we are creating dramatic text. Because when we are creating dramatic monologues, we are looking for certain things in the writing so that it helps us when we get on stage. It helps the actors, it helps the audience understand the story better and go on a rich emotional journey. All right. So let's first try and figure out what is this monologue? What is a monologue? So I'm not one for sticking by the rules, and I break a lot of rules in writing and storytelling, and I feel you can too. So don't put the pressure of the rules and don't put too much pressure on terminology. A monologue often is a piece of text that is spoken by one performer, by one voice. And a monologue can be either a really dramatic statement in the middle of a plot, it can appear by a character right at the start of a play or a story to set the tone and the context and the scene of the show. Where are we? What is happening? And it can also appear at the end of a story to really tie up loose ends. When I was an actor, I mean, I still am an actor. The first thing I would do when I get a script was to open it up and really look for where the monologue comes. Because an actor really wants the monologue is a great time for them to act, to show my skill in acting. Because always the monologue always has so much emotion and a lot of storytelling. So we look forward to it. When I became a director and a creative text, it became important that the monologue serves the story and helps us actually as a device, as a dramatic device, very conveniently to cut across time. So, how does it cut across time? Say, for example, at the start of any play, like say Romeo and Juliet, there's a prologue which begins with two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. There's more to that prologue, but what does that prologue do to the plot? It really sets the scene. Tells us where the story is, which is Verona. It tells us that there is a feud. There's a warlike fight between two clans and a kind of a civil war. So it really uses the prologue to quickly fast forward the audience to where we are without the big Ram Kahani before that. So that's why it's really interesting. And Dhwani, if we can just move to the next slide. I'm going to tell you what else a monologue can do. A monologue can also reveal a character's thoughts, feelings, and desires. And these often come at critical moments within a larger story where the character just is given a moment to share and unload what they're feeling and thinking to the audience. Often, this kind of a monologue is called a I find it hard to pronounce that. You know which one? That word, that soliloquy. Asad, how do you pronounce that? I'm getting you back in the room. All right.
Soliloquy.
That's it. That's it. That's why we need Asad here. That's right. And you just did an aside for us to really bring that in. That's great. And that's a great one. That's a beautiful device. I love it because it really it makes the character open up their heart to the audience, and there is no holding back. They tell you how they feel, what they think, what they plan to do. And it's a really nice dramatic device again for us to get to know a character better, for us to connect with them and go with them on a journey. So either the enemies, we feel like, that one's such a devil, or we say, oh, that one is so wise, I hope they don't go into any danger. Oh, she's so vulnerable and afraid. So it's a great way to get the audience to really connect with you as a character. So a monologue can help reveal thoughts, desires, feelings. A monologue can also share an understanding of a situation or the world as it is. What are the philosophical themes in there? What are the problems that we see in this world? So, for example, in Hayavadan, quite early, in fact, at the start of the play, the narrator sets out on a prayer and says, it's a prayer to Lord Ganesha, and he sings verses for the success of the play. But also in the verses, the narrator talks about the incompleteness of God and declares that man is not wise enough to comprehend what is complete and what is incomplete. So, in fact, this kind of a monologue is really laying out there the philosophy of the show, the theme of the story. And so a monologue can even do that. So when you're writing, it's really you're deciding, when do I want to introduce a monologue in a larger story? What is it serving? Is it serving for me to understand the character further, to understand the scene of what is happening in the world of the story, or a philosophy or a larger theme. These are the many objectives of a monologue, and you can choose to practice writing for all of them. Today, what we're going to do is, Dhwani, if we can move to the next slide, is really look at a monologue from the point of view of the character. And I want us to practice a monologue that is dramatic in nature. Um, and of course, there are many kinds of writing styles. And if you read a lot of monologues and different playwrights or storytellers or filmmakers, you see everyone has a different style for the different stories that they're writing. And there are many structures and there are many ways to do it. But I'm going to share with you one round of how to look at monologues and construct it as what we can do for this first session. So, first, I want you to think about who is speaking. So, whenever we think about writing the monologue within a larger narrative, or if the whole narrative is a monologue, first really think about the character who is speaking. What is their backstory? What do they want? What is hurting them? What will give them relief, joy, peace? And we call this the dramatic arc. And there is a dramatic arc for entire stories, but each monologue also has a dramatic arc. It's like a story within a story. So, definitely, who is speaking? So, if we were to close our eyes and if we were to think a story, think of any story and say, I'm going to write a monologue. Um, I'm going to take an existing story and I'm going to rewrite it for myself. Say the story of, let's take a myth of Ganesha. And I'm also introducing that because I did create a original script with the writer Sneh Sapru on Ganesha called Elephant in the Room. So who is speaking? All right. What is their backstory? So our play, Elephant in the Room, begins with Ganesha, and it starts with the monologue of Ganesha. And their backstory, what is Ganesha's backstory, is that he has just been beheaded. He has just been beheaded. It hurts. He's been given a new head as of 4 days ago, and he is really upset about it. This is what we gave him as a backstory, which is existing in the myths. Then we decided, okay, what does our character, our hero of our show, Ganesha, what does Ganesha want right now? And we decided that he wants his old head back again. That is his objective. He doesn't want this elephant head. He wants his old boy head. That's what we defined as his objective. This is his desire. This is what he wants. This is what drives him. What is hurting him? There are so many things in the Ganesha story. What hurts him is that he got beheaded, of course, the physical pain. Two is that he got a new head. He doesn't know how to work with this new head. The new head is really heavy. So to carry it around is just physically painful. He's hurting because his relationship with his father who beheaded him, that's a complex relationship. And he is hurting that his father did that. He is hurting for so many reasons. He thinks he looks terrible with an elephant head. He thinks people are laughing at him. He feels like he's lost his friends. He's lost himself. He feels like the mirror itself is rejecting what he looks like. So there's a lot of pain. And what will give him relief and joy? And in the monologue, we decided is that if he found his head, if he could reverse what happened, that would give him joy. And that was the beginning of the story. He sets off on an adventure to look for his head. And that was his opening monologue. And it defined, of course, his entire narrative of the story. So who is speaking? What has just happened to them a few hours ago, a few days ago, not necessarily 30 years ago, but fresh. What are they coming from? What emotion are they coming from? And what are they moving towards? What is coming in their way? How will they overcome it? This is also known in structures of writing, the beginning, the middle, and the end. Let's move. There's a little bit of theory before we all start to write. So hang on to your pens, just make some mental notes, and we'll have the next slide, Dhwani. And the next slide, Dhwani. Yes. Okay, the best thing to do is, I find, and when I write or when I'm co-creating with writers, we often sit together in collaborations and we actually sit and visualize the character who's speaking. And that helps inform the vocabulary, it informs what they say and how they say. It really does. And I got this tip from a writer as well called Eric Kaiser, whose play I'd done as my first production. And he said, visualize your character. Remember people you love. Think of someone you love, but there's something you despise about them as well. So you love and despise. So that's interesting. You can really feed off people you've seen in the world, observe them. I really like to go into the physical person as well to really define what is their physical appearance. Are they old? Are they young? Are they are they thin? Are they a little pudgier? Do they have any kind of challenge in the body? Are they aching with some pain? So that's how we visualized Ganpati at the start of our play. We were like, he's young. We want to make him young. So we think he's about 16, 17 years old. Because we wanted him to it to be also a coming of age story. We thought that he is physically finding the head very heavy. We also decided at the start of the play that he had probably run. He was running with this weight and had come to the edge of the forest. So he was tired, and perhaps bits of his clothes were ripped and torn. And what was his style of speaking? Because he came from a kind of a royalty family. So therefore we'll stay on visualize the person, Dhwani. What was his, what is his style of speaking? So his language would be richer, perhaps. His choice of words would be also affected by his background. The choice of rhymes that he would use. So style of speaking. And what was his emotional temperature? And I said his emotional temperature would be, he is really upset. He is at a point of breakdown. He has been through a lot of anger, and right now he's at the point of breakdown. Now think about how we'd write it. Now think of him. So we really, with the writers, we want to put ourselves in the shoes of the character. We want to wear their physical appearance. And we said, yes, we want to wear their physical appearance. We want to think about what family background they're in, how, which part of the world are they from? So therefore, why this vocabulary, and what is their emotional temperature just now before Ganpati opens his mouth and speaks to the gods as to why has this happened to him. So our opening two lines of the monologue are, where in the world does this head belong? In just 4 days, all hope is deformed. Why can't the hands of time simply rewind to give me back, which is truly mine? And it continues. So he's talking to the gods, he's upset, he's broken down. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. So I say, visualize the person. And then I also say, feel the scene. So it's not enough to be just the person, but let the environment of the scene affect the character. And I love this is a painting by Sunil Patwardhan, and it was at the NGMA. You could have seen it super large, but I loved it for this because, you know, you've got the stairs going up to the skywalks, you have the rickshaw stands, the flyovers. I think that's Gloria Church in Bombay with the stained glass. So feel, where is this monologue happening? Is it in the middle of the forest, like in Midsummer Night's Dream? Many monologues happen inside the forest, and it's dark and it's dangerous when the women feel they're most vulnerable and are really fearful for their lives. Is it in a city? If you wanted to do a new version of Midsummer Night's Dream or your own story, is it in a city? Where in the city? Is it happening in a moving bus? Or is it happening in a village? And exactly, it's not enough to just name a village or town, but really locate the room. Locate the smallest space around them. What is the day? Is it day or is it night? Because I find darkness and light can change how characters can feel in a situation. Is it humid? Is it dry? Is it hot? Are they sweating? Is it freezing cold? What is the weather? I think all of these things about the atmosphere, the environment can really, again, affect a character and how they say what they say, and including the tempo of how they say it. So really imagine the location. It might be that you write a dramatic monologue and it is performed by someone else, and they may create for themselves their own environment to locate the monologue and the performance, and that is totally fine. It is about interpretation, but really it is about creating a very rich imagination for which these stories can feel strong for you here before you even go into the writing of it. So where are they? What time of day is it? What is the weather? And you can ask yourself more questions. In fact, lots of actors do this before they go on stage, as they're creating the world for them and the text to come alive for them. So we're working reverse. I'm asking you as writers to also feel the scene, almost like a performer. All right, let's have the next slide. And really, it's the last slide of tools before we start trying to write. And it is get a pulse rate. I like this because even as actors, or when I'm directing a performer to speak a monologue, I insist on a pulse rate. I'll say, you've just been running and you hit a tree and you fell, and that's when you spoke. Pulse rate will change the tempo. It will change how they are thinking and therefore saying what they do. It will give you a rhythm. So are they running, or did they just wake up out of a dream? Have they been crying? Have they been laughing? Really think about all of these things before you start to write that monologue. It will really inform the writing. And I think it's a very exciting way to put your body 100% in the feelings and the emotions, and your own heartbeat is racing. I use a lot of music for writing as well. It really gets me into a zone. I think of a lot of visuals. Those really help me to create my text for the characters that I know are going to eventually be on stage. So the next slide is quite clear. It says, enough talk, let's write. So yes, enough of my monologue. That was a long monologue, wasn't it? I hope I didn't bore you. I hope you got enough tools in there. And I'm going to do a little writing workshop with you right now. So you've got your pens and paper, I hope. If you need to, just quickly or onto your laptops, you can start to write. And what we are going to do is we are going to use an existing story so that we're all on the same page. And we are going to create a monologue for a character in this story. And the story is Red Riding Hood. Now, everyone may not know Red Riding Hood, so I'm going to quickly tell you the story of Red Riding Hood. If we can have the presentation back on for just a little longer. Red Riding Hood is a children's fairy tale. It's about a girl whose name is Red Riding Hood. It's because she wears a red cape. And Red Riding Hood has a mission, and her mission is to go through the forest carrying a basket of fruit and vegetables and cakes and bread and lots of food, maybe some kebabs in there, depending on where you've located your Red Riding Hood. So she has a basket of food that she needs to get to the grandmother who lives inside the forest. It's her grandmother. But in the forest, there are wolves. Okay, this is the setting of the story that I'm sharing with you. And the wolves make it really difficult for her to get to grandmother in time to give her her lunch and dinner and her food. The wolves are fairly dangerous to her own life, Red Riding Hood. The landscape is a forest. And Red Riding Hood, in most stories, is a young girl. I can choose to change that because we're talking about interpretation. It can be a man, it can be a woman, and you can decide that. What we are going to do is write a monologue for Red Riding Hood. And not at the start of the story, because I want it to be a dramatic monologue that we're practicing and using the tools that I shared with you just above. I want you to imagine that it is, let's say, dusk, and she has just escaped the first wolf in the forest. She has just escaped this wolf, and she has been running, and she is going to start to speak. Now, that's the setting for you. I want for you to add more, and I'm going to work with you through it. If we can have the next slide, Dhwani. Red Riding Hood has just managed to escape the wolf, and she launches into a monologue. But before you write, I'm going to work with you. We're going to do a stop and start method. We're going to try and use some tools. Now, I know a lot of you don't need tools, and you can just that enough will explode you into a lot of writing. But for the sake of this workshop, let's all go for it together. So we do the next slide, Dhwani. And the first thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Close your eyes and visualize your Red Riding Hood first, the character. And I say visualize 3 different types of Red Riding Hoods, because often the first one we'll do will be a stereotype, right? So I always believe in discarding the first version. And so think of 3 very different kinds. And they can be different ages. And where is your Red Riding Hood from? Which part? Is she from India? Is she from a city? Is she from? So really get out of this, the storybook kind and make it your own. Is it you? Is it someone you know? Really visualize this person. Look at their features. You know, what is it? Does she have short hair? Does she have long hair? If your Red Riding Hood is a boy, and you're welcome to that, you know, what does he look like? What is his age? Is he athletic? Is he fast? Is he a slow? Is he reflective? Is he a poetic kind of Red Riding Hood? Really think about that. Visualize them. The more you feel and see them, you'll be able to create more for them. Okay, now feel the scene. I want you to feel the scene of them just having. So I want you to imagine, and almost you can work your own heartbeat up to the feeling of whew, just having escaped the wolf. And really give some more details to that. Did the wolf bite you? Did you get a scratch? You know, how scared are you? Are you a little scared? Are you very scared? And I'd say, just for the dramatic element, you know, up your emotional quotient. Yes, it was frightening. What were the eyes of the wolf? Okay. And really feel the scene. And when you were running, was the forest dense? Or was it a desert? Or was it a metaphorical forest? Was it an urban forest? Were you running through stairs, through the urban jungle? You can create your location, but you must do it, because it will inform your writing. Good. Get a pulse rate. Now write 2 opening sentences. And remember, you must hook your audience with the first 2 sentences. So high on emotion, high on action, and I want you to write 2 sentences. Just 2. Imagine you only got 2 sentences. And I'm going to ask you to share it on the chat. Take your time. Now, there are 2 ways to have approached it. You could have said, she was running through the forest and she just escaped the wolf. Or I. Now, that's another kind of monologue. So you really write that the character is speaking out to the audience. I want you to maybe try that one. Make it really active. I. So you're really getting into the skin of the character that you're writing for. And you speak with the voice I. When we say hook, hook means it should be exciting. It should grab the audience's attention. Okay, if anyone would like to share on the chat, share your 2 lines. You can use any animal instead of the wolf. That doesn't matter. Bappa, thank you for saving me from that one. Please be with me. Why not? Absolutely, Anjali. That's a nice one. To talk, a dramatic arc, Sonal, I will answer that for you. A dramatic arc means a rising tension. Rising tension. I'll come back to that more again. So two lines. Let's have some more. Don't be afraid to share your lines. This is only draft one. Let's have as many of you sharing on the chat. And your tone can be comedic, your tone can be dramatic, your tone can be, there's lots of choices. Let's see. I like this one. Okay, Mekla goes, oh, is he gone? I mustn't, I have to, I have to pin it. Is there a way to pin it? Is he gone? I mustn't rest until I'm sure he is gone. That's nice. It means that she's going to continuously keep moving. I really like that, Mekla, because if I was the actor performing it, or if I was the director who took it, it's a very clear direction to the actor saying, don't stop. It's not a stop. Is he gone? I mustn't rest. There will always be, my pulse rate will keep moving higher and higher. I have to look for the next place to hide. Next place. I mustn't rest. Wonderful action there. Okay, Gitanjali's gone. I ran like the wind. The coldness of it made my heart beat faster. I ran like the wind. It was cold. It made my heart beat faster. Wonderful temperature. That's nice. When you give temperature like that, even the audience will feel that temperature. They will come into your world. They will feel cold. Wonderful. Let's see a few more. Okay, Delnaz has got one. I was shocked. My fingers trembled as I tried to button up, shocked at her audacity, her strength, and her lust. Wow, high passion, high danger. We like that. That makes it really dramatic, beautiful. And almost a lot of Shakespeare, in fact, does this, where they don't necessarily show you the scene of the wolf and the wolf and Red Riding Hood, but it might be that she comes from off stage onto stage and she tells you what happened. So you needn't have seen the action, but her buttons are open and she's buttoning up and she tells you the audacity. And that leaves the audience to imagine what might have happened to her. And that's beautiful. I think writing like that, which makes the audience imagine what happened, is very powerful writing. So thank you for that, Delnas. That was a great share. I like this one. This is from Soumya. That son of a wolf, I surely burned chunks of fat while racing through those thorny bushes. I love that. That was wonderful. That's great comedy in drama. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, beautiful. Okay, let me take one more. Okay, let's see. Dharmesh says, what have I been up to? How does grandma stay at Nehru Nagar? And that's nice because, again, you've set the story in an urban landscape. And of course, satire, humor, a lot of stand-up comes from that, So wonderful. That's really nice. You get the audience definitely laughing with that. Oh, okay, Ghazala has got one. I can still see the red eyes of the wolf and feel the sharp teeth on my arm. Will I be able to make it? That's nice. So we've got a description of the violence that's happened. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, okay. Let's move on. Let's move on and let's keep building on the monologues. Great contribution, everybody. Great contribution. Okay, so we had two powerful sentences for an opening. Let's move to the next slide, Dhwani, and let's have a second prompt for you to keep writing. Okay. Whew. Wow, I feel very charged by the writing that's happening so far. Okay, build the drama. And I have the sticking bomb that's about to explode, which also answers this question of a dramatic arc, which means we want to increase tension for the character. Why do we want to do that? We want the dramatic arc to move upwards, where everyone, including the audience's pulse rate, increases, because that means they're listening for longer. They're curious about what this character intends to do with the situation. How will they survive? How will they escape? And we call that the rising dramatic arc. We call that build the drama. Okay. So for you to first think about the next two lines, I need you to think, where does she need to get to? So some of you have put that in the first two opening lines. I need to get to Nehru Nagar. My grandmother's out there. I need you to think about objective. What is the character's objective? Because we have to reveal it. Why does she need to get there? That gives us purpose. We love to know what drives characters, not just what is their end goal, but why is this goal important? Why is it important for Red Riding Hood to reach the forest? Why can't she go back home? And, I mean, if that was the story, she could, okay, you know what? I'll just go back home. Too many wolves in the forest. It's not worth the danger. Now, that isn't a story, is it? The story is about how is she going to make it despite everything. So objective, purpose, and there's one line that's kind of missing at the bottom of when you see it, and that is, I'm going to share with you, is what will happen if she doesn't make it. So I want you to increase the stakes. I think, Dhwani, you have to just slide upwards a little bit, because there's, yes! Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. Where does she need to get to? Why does she need to get there? What will happen if she doesn't make it? I want you to imagine. Those are big questions. Take your time to think about that. And then you get 4 lines to write about it. Remember, we don't want to be descriptive. Oh, if I don't get there, this will make it vibrant. Make it action. Whew. Make it active. Active. Think about it. So, for example, Shakespeare does a lot of it so well. Iago wants Desdemona. Why? He's in love with her. What will happen if he doesn't get her? It has to be strong enough, which is why he plans and plots the downfall of Othello so that he has a better chance. So objective, purpose, high stakes, drive needs to be really strong. Couple of sentences there. Let's see if I can see some. I'm going to give you all a minute more, so that then we can read out and enjoy it. Okay. Think about, I want you to all visualize grandmother a little bit more. So what I'm reading right now, it's just grandmother is like a token figure. Really think about Red Riding Hood's connection with grandmother. Because right now it's like, I need to get to grandmother. But why do we need to, why this grandmother? So I don't want token information in this monologue. I want the connection. I want to see the relationship between Red Riding Hood and the grandmother. Almost through this, I need to have a vision for grandmother as well. Do you get that? So I want you to rework your lines there. Rework your lines. Because right now you're just all saying Nani, grandma, but I don't get a sense of who this person is. If this was a love story, I'd need to know. I don't want the names, just I need to get to Dev, I need to get to Reshma. No, who is Reshma? Who is Dev? Why? What's amazing about them? What's important about them? Little bit flavor of grandma, everyone. A little flavor of grandma. Okay, Paul is giving some good, strong drives. I'll say it must have been safer to go through the village. It would have been safer to go through the village, but that would have taken a couple of hours more Poor grandmother hasn't eaten for days with this lockdown. Hope she hasn't starved to death by now. God help me. Hope I don't come across any more rogues. That's nice because you've used the ticking clock, Paul, which is like if I don't reach now and through the forest because it's faster, grandmom is going to collapse. So that's nice. Okay, let's see a few more. Let's see if we got a flavor of granny. Okay, all of you, a lot of COVID situations, okay? You can release yourselves right now from COVID as well. I mean, make great. You can live in COVID land for your imagination, but for the story right now, go bigger, go crazier. Lots more things could happen. Okay, I see some. Hmm. Okay, Asha's got something. I like it because it changes the game a bit. She says, I have to reach grandmother fast. She needs these guns for the shipment in an hour. Wow, I'd be curious if I was an audience member. I was like, grandmother needs guns? Oh, you got me. You got me, Asha. I like that because in stories, I do like moving out of stereotypes. I do like a fresh landscape, no tokenism, and you got me by that. If I don't make it, Asha continues, she says, Granny will give me the worst death, worse than these wolves. Nice. So then we feel, wow, this grandmother, she's like a real gangster, isn't she? And I like that because you've given a color to the grandmother. Almost the audience would be like, wow, I can't wait for grandmother to come on stage because the setup has been phenomenal. She's a gangster. She's got guns cocked up. She's dangerous. She will threaten her own granddaughter with the gun. My goodness, that's a great setup for grandmother. And that makes it so much more exciting, so much more exciting. Wonderful. Let's see if there's some more. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot. Great, all of you. Thank you for so many, for sharing so much. That is really, really wonderful. And it's great. You must share your writing. Never feel worried or inhibited. Just write. There's so much pleasure to be had from it. That's great. Superb. Let me. Okay, Dipesh, let's have some Hindi. Okay, so here, my Hindi is terrible, but I'm going to give it a shot to read it out to you, okay? बोला था नानी को इतनी चॉकलेट ना खाया करे अब हो गया शुगर हाई क्या माँ ने बोला था माँ ने बोला उनकी दवाई लेकर जाओ नहीं लेकर गया तो कुछ भी हो सकता है जैसे पिछली बार मरती मरती बच गई. That's beautiful, really nice. Again, when I hear that, Dipesh, I can imagine like a grandmom, pretty much like a lot of grandmothers we know, who always want to eat the chocolates and they're highly diabetic and they're kind of naughty as well. So that's wonderful. I had a really nice image of grandmother. And that's what we want to do with our writing, guys. No tokenism. Any character that you have that is mentioned in a monologue, they need to come alive as well. Beautiful. So the speaker, the character that is speaking needs to come alive. The enemies, the obstacles, who are they trying to get to? What's the color of the other characters in the monologue? Beautiful. So let's move still further ahead. And Dhwani, let's change the slide. Let's move further. Build up the challenge. This also is about the dramatic arc, right? So build up the challenge. What does she feel about the wolf? And I know a lot of you did that, but I want you to really now, let me see the wolf a bit. What does she feel about the wolf? And what can she do to overcome the wolf? Now, this is important because we go into planning and scheming and a bit of strategy. And this, again, builds curiosity for the audience. What are they going to do? So take a few more lines on this. One line about how do you feel about the wolf that really describes the wolf well. As I said, reveal the enemy. And then maybe 2 lines about strategy. That's all. Think about it in short sentences. And let's see how that goes. Again, remember, don't forget the atmosphere, don't forget the pulse rate. So right now we're writing for a long time, but always when you go back to it, put yourself in the drama, put yourself in the pulse, the environment, see the wolf. Again, the wolf is a metaphor. It could be any kind of it could be a human, it could be a animal, it could be any metaphor for an obstacle. So you can visualize it, really look at it, talk to it. If you could talk to that beast of an enemy, what would you say to it? See it. Take a moment to see before you speak. I always say that. Pause, imagine, visualize, put yourself in the scene, and then write. I'm just going to have a sip of water. I think I've been running so much with all this drama that's happening. I need a pause. Tanzil says, "This wolf is nothing." After watching the Twilight, is this wolf is nothing what I imagined after watching the Twilight series. Great for stand up, Tanzil. Wonderful. Okay, Stephen, going with just going building off the other writer who had guns for grandma. It's a nice theme. I'm just going to add it there. So for him, the wolves are Gestapo. So Stephen says, "I dreaded the Gestapo. Grandma warned me about them. I could see them coming to me. What are you going to do, girl? To see my grandma who lives a few blocks away. It is night and it is lonely until one Gestapo gave her a few candies." Okay, it's nice that it's another world altogether, right? Guns, Gestapo. Nice, nice. Really bring alive the wolves, guys. Bring alive the wolves. Okay, let's see this. There's one who's Shalini is doing a nice bringing out the wolves. So let's go. These lecherous eyes that devour me whole. I don't think looking fierce alone will help. Weapons at the ready now. Oh, I don't think looking fierce alone will help. Weapons at the ready now. Bloodshed. So be it. I like that first line. Those lecherous eyes that devour me whole. I don't think looking fierce alone will help. Weapons at the ready now, bloodshed, so be it. Nice, you got a good rhythm there, Shalini. I really like that. It's what we call a very dramatic set of rhythms for your lines. It would be very fun for an actor to speak stylistically that kind of dialogue. Great. I know he's dirty. I have been warned of his filth, of his anger. How fast must I run before he finds me? Nice, Mikla. That's good. Good. Okay, good, good, good. Really work it up, work up how you reveal characters, folks. The details about them as opposed to just general washes. Any kind of writing, this is what we want to do. We don't want to have washes of feelings or washes of emotions. Be very specific, be very clear. The more you do that, the actors as well and the directors as well have something a lot more detail to go with and makes your work more unique, more bespoke. and not general washes of enemy kind of characters, or general washes of escape, or general washes of the girl who's vulnerable. This is important. So your visualization needs to get stronger. Ask yourself more questions about this wolf. Ask yourself more questions about Red Riding Hood's motives. What is driving her? Why is the wolf coming to eat? Why is the wolf trying to get her basket? Why? It's not enough to just give us enemies, but why are they doing that? Give your enemies drive, give your enemies motive. And we do this exercise as well, which is you can write monologues for different characters, even if you don't use it, but really in a way that helps you discover the different characters of your stories, because it forces you to understand their motivations, their driving forces, all still much more. So you could also then write a monologue for the wolf. Why does he need that basket? And then you're creating different pieces of the story, different perspectives of different characters, and it's quite rich then. Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right. This is really what helps you to write in a way that is active, what I call. So we don't just describe, but we write in an active way. When we study monologues as actors, we try to think about what the sentence is doing. So let me try and let me use one of your paragraphs. Okay, let's use her needs, which is every day I fight mother of wolves in my home. Every day I fight the mother of wolves in my home. Now, what would you like the intent or the action to be with that sentence? Is it a complaint? Is Red Riding Hood complaining? Every day I fight mother of wolves in my home. Or is she mourning? Or is she challenging? Think about it so it makes it stronger. So when you are re-looking at your text, see if there are enough triggers that give actions, that make your sentences stronger. So let's say this. Let's take another line from here. If I would dare to turn my face towards the dark. Let's see. Oh, what a fool am I to even think of this right now. So what is the character doing? Is the character, if we have to say, what is the character doing by saying this line? Is the character revealing what a silliness this is? Is the character admonishing herself? Is the character scolding herself? Oh, what a fool am I to even think of this right now. Okay, so you can reread your work and see if it's strong enough as a start. Is it good? Yeah. Is she scolding herself? Okay. If she's scolding herself, have I used the best sentence that I have? So folks, we're working on draft 2 now of your work. We're working on draft 2, really going back to see, am I giving enough intention to the character's speech? Oh, what a fool am I to even think of this right now. Scolding. Okay, that's a clear, strong voice. Okay. Okay, miss, laying out the facts. So what is she doing here with this line? She is reflecting. She is reminding. She wants to lay out the facts. So she wants to remind herself of what happened. Anything we can do to make that line sharper, clearer, etc. We could just kill and devour my each bone and flesh. What is that? Is that a challenge? Is that a tease? Is that a trick? Is that a scheme? So think about these words when you are writing. And this is draft 2, which is to say, is Red Riding Hood trying to pacify herself? Then she'll say, it's okay. It's okay. All right. It's all right. We have escaped the wolf. I have half an hour before I see the next one. That means she's pacifying. 2 is she can scheme. She says, this is what I need to do. If I need to outwit the wolf, I'm going to have to do this. And she divulges her plan and her scheme to the audience. Is she teasing? She says, you know what? I've seen worse in life, let's see the next wolf that comes. And in a monologue, maybe when she's talking straight to the wolf, her intent could be to tease the wolf. She says, hey, didn't find any sucker else? Am I the only Red Riding Hood in the forest? that you could find. Hey, you're looking pretty good and well fed. Do you really need to eat more? So she could tease. So you can think about intent for your character as a way to also give a treatment to the monologue. I hope that is pretty clear to you, and some more tricks in there that you can use. Um, should I defy and challenge, or should I trick it and believe that I'm not shaken? Should you? Yeah, that's good. She's speaking out her mind. She's saying, what should I do? All right, good. Often we don't need to, in the writing, use these words like I complain or I want to challenge the wolf. It should be, it is almost behind the writing, the intent. So they will say, so like I said, hey, wolf, how you doing? Seems like you're pretty well fed for a few days. I'm not saying as Red Riding Hood, I'm teasing you, wolf, but the intent is to tease. So these words come behind the text. As the author of the text, you need to see that you're doing strong intent with the character. The character is complaining. The character is now, and you can have many because a monologue has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It can begin with complaint. It can move to divulge. So if it complains, oh my God, these wolves, it's horrible. Why do I have to live with these wolves? That's a complaint. Then it moves to remind, no, calm down. So the intent of the next few lines is to remind, it's okay, look, I need to get to grandmother. I need to get to her and feed her before she starves herself to death. All right. And then the last few lines, she moves to scheme. This is what I'm going to do. I am going to build myself a rocket that flies over the forest so I don't have to go through the forest. Ooh, whatever your scheme is. But remember, a monologue has a beginning, has a middle, and an end. So you don't want to go from beginning to end only complaining and whining. Boring. We want to have different intents. You begin with one intent, move to another intent, end with a third intent. And in most monologues, you want to end with a sense of where is the story going to go? So that the audience is wondering, oh, that's a choice that Red Riding Hood is going to make. She is going to do this. She plans to do this. I hope it brings her victory and not her downfall. But anyway, the ends of monologues give a sense of that. Again, a dramatic sense of where it goes into the next part of the story. If I can have the next slide, Dhwani, that is just really going to nail that line in, that thought in. Lead us to turn the page. The end of your monologue must be a page turner. Either a hint of a plan that will only cause more danger, or she kind of is a self-motivation, so she speaks to herself that will build her up to become the hero of the story. So I want you to think of one line to end the monologue with. But really that one line should make the audience want to stay tuned in even more about the rest of the plot. So think of that one line. Aditya's one I'm going to read for now. अगर बास्केट में से 2 कबाब वुल्फ को दूं तो क्या वो मुझे जाने देगा? नहीं, कबाब तो 5 ही है. दादी और मेरे लिए सिर्फ 3 कबाब बचेंगे. लेकिन कबाब से पहले वुल्फ ही मुझे खा जाएगा. That's nice. I'll only become the wolf's kebab. Okay. Let me take the last line of your monologue, folks. I like that, Rashid. That's nice. It's not over. That's good. Okay, Aditya, just to continue that. लगता है आज दादी को मैं wolf का कबाब खिलाऊंगा. That's nice. So you're wondering, wow, Red Riding Hood's like she's threatening to make kebabs out of the wolf. All right, let's go see that. Nice. Let's see. Feel free, folks. New people, put it up there. Put your stuff up here. Okay, Samantha's got one, very deadly one. I drew the virus into the syringe. Da, da, da. Nice. Okay. All right. Don't worry. Not all your actors will be such bad actors like me. They'll do much better justice to your writing. I'm overly dramatic right now, but you'll get better actors. Don't worry. Wonderful writing, everyone. Okay, Shiva's got one. I rather not look into the. I rather not look too far into the abyss, lest I become it myself. Nice, very different and kind of poetic. Wonderful. It's a battle of fire versus fear. Sean, that's great. It's a battle of fire versus fear on the menu for tonight. It's a battle of fire versus fear on the menu for tonight. Nice, good. You'll get the audience rolling in there. Oh, good. That's good. It's tuned here. Let's get one more in. I like Deepika, nice one. Her hands clasped the broken bottle as she stood up stealthily. Nice, little goosebumps. I got a feeling you gave me a nice broken bottle. That's a beautiful image because all of us have seen broken bottles. We know what that means. A little bit of that violence, danger, risk going up. Wonderful, wonderful. Another mood altogether. Good job, everyone. Bring it in, bring it in. Navya's got another one. I like it. 8 second. What is wrong with my basket? Wait, this is not my basket. Wonderful, Navya. Really nice. It makes like a real plot turner, a big change. Oh. What a big surprise there. Opening up a whole new thread to the story and the plot. That's wonderful, folks. Really, 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 really good examples of ending a monologue where the audience is hooked to know more, and different kinds of moods, whether it's dark or it's comic or it's mystery. Beautiful, beautiful job there. I really enjoyed it. I think all of us together would create a fantastic new story of Red Riding Hood. Okay, so now that brings us to the end of my session with you in terms of writing tools. Just to summarize, remember, visualize the physicality of the character, visualize where they are, what's just happened to them, the pulse, the temperature, the emotion, visualize the other characters, because a monologue often comes in response to a situation or in response to other people in the story. So the more you show us who the other people are, the more we understand why the response is so dramatic or why the response is so. So don't give us token characters. Build each character up. Use strong intention, strong action. And remember, it's an increasing dramatic arc. It doesn't start with it can also be a decreasing dramatic arc where the character is just collecting themselves. But of course, they intend to do something. A monologue has a beginning, a middle, an end. The character has an objective. They want to go somewhere. They need to do something. They have fallen in love with somebody. What is coming in the way? What are the wolves, the challenges, the obstacles for any of these characters to achieve what they want? And how do they plan to overcome these obstacles and strategize and eventually get to their goals, their dreams, their ambitions? So Red Riding Hood is a kind of a story arc, but of course you can use the story arc for any of the stories that you want, any of the monologues. This is really for a dramatic monologue, and you will be exploring many more kinds. We only have time for this one. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I want to, before we go into Q&A, I want to invite my guests, Nisa and Vidyut, who are actors, writers themselves, amazing singers, beautiful performers. They're going to be reading out 2 monologues. We had entries, lots of entries for monologues that you have all written. And we thought we'll share 2 of them. They were really wonderful. And we'd love to have readings of all the monologues. Unfortunately, we're always pressed for time. So we're going to do 2. And Vidyut, why don't you do the first one and then we move to Nisa's. And if you can tell us the name of the writer, that would be great.
Of course. Hold on, let me find it. Okay. This one. All right. Here we go. So this is an entry by Aditya Manik, and it is a monologue of the character Zangnalia, who is an alien. Here goes. Godspeed, Dr. Esposito. Thou art an earthling from the 22nd century, conversing with me, a so-called alien in the 22nd century, speaking the way they did at a time whence a man, very clever, much like thee, left his language on the tongues of our forefathers. Thou mustn't believe thine own senses, the things they hear, the things they see. Now we require thy assistance, fair sir. Thou art possibly the foremost among the minds of the universe. Deprived of thy loved mother, thou art thy family's punching bag. Deprived of thy work, thy peace, and thy solitude, by fame that doth not even belong to thee. Join us, and thou shalt be rewarded. Join us, and thou shalt be provided with all resources and time that thou hast ever desired. Join us, and thy family will be paid for their indifference. All we need is one thing from thee.
Wow, thank you so much, Vidyut. I'm clapping for you. Thank you so much. What a wonderful performance of that. Aditya, I thought that was a really fantastic a piece. One is, of course, I love aliens and sci-fi kinds of stories, and I love the humor and the craziness in there. And definitely, if you can all see that last line, which was, all we need is one thing from thee. And that really makes us all in the audience say, oh my God, what does he want from him or she want, whatever, gender or non-gender this alien is, what do they want? And that is so exciting. So I hope you Stephen saying is, all we need is love. Wonderful. Great job, guys. Superb. Aditya, finish this. Make this whole story because we're really dying to know what happens. So you're on a great roll. Thank you, Vidyut, for that. Yes. And then we're going to have Nisa jump in the chair in the hot seat.
Yes. So I will introduce Nisa so that she can come, sit down, and begin the piece immediately. All right?
Fantastic. Thank you.
So this is an entry by Thomas T. And I think this is a monologue of himself, Thomas. So here goes.
I've just returned home from the India Sweets and Spices. Sorry. I've just returned home from the India Sweets and Spices grocery store, one of several in Los Angeles that sells just that, sweets and spices. Being a full-time caregiver at home, I took a half hour to go shop. I arrived there masked and gloved. The shop is tiny. The owner and his young male assistant hang around. They were also masked and gloved. There was little chit-chat. One's sole aim while shopping these days is to buy your stuff and get the hell out. In my haste, I accidentally bumped into the assistant. Our bare arms touched. And there was this brief, chilling moment as we each apologized. I paid and returned to my car where I cleansed my arm with sanitizers. Later, I realized that this was the first time in months that I have actually touched a human being other than my mom, who I take care of daily. I actually cherish that accidental moment of human contact, albeit with a stranger, realizing how crucial human contact is for all of us until the vaccine is found. If we want to stay alive, we'll have to keep our distance from others, follow the guidelines, and perhaps imagine what we are missing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Nisa. That was beautiful and so poignant. And of course, written so beautifully by Thomas. Thank you. That was a beautiful, beautiful monologue. Both of these monologues would be dreams for actors to perform in. As you can see, it was so enjoyable to do it, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of feeling in there. And I really like, again, this last sentence, which really, you know, what I was talking about right at the start. I said monologues can also be about opening up very large philosophical human themes. And this human theme is about connection. It is about, will we ever be able to, you know, have that contact again? What are we, and perhaps imagine what we are missing. Wow. Big themes, big, powerful themes. Thank you so much for that, Thomas. Thank you so much, Aditya, and everyone else who did send in your entries. We are pretty much at the end of our session. And I just want to say, guys, you should follow Nisa and Vidyut on Instagram because they're amazing performers. Nisa Shetty is a extraordinary singer, and don't miss her music. And Vidyut is a crazy actor, writer. So follow them. They're doing lots of amazing material on Instagram and Facebook, and you'll really enjoy seeing their things. Okay, everybody. That pretty much shows up from my end, and I'm happy to take a few questions before we end the session. I know there's a lot more that we can all share and exchange about the art of monologue writing. This is just a beginning to have more fun with it. So let's see if there's some questions. Beautiful readings. Love it, says Jyoti. Loved it. Yes, absolutely. That was brilliant reading. This was wonderful. Kanak says, Nisa, loved it thoroughly. That was lovely. Thank you for sharing your comments, everyone, on the readings as well. Okay, so we have a few questions. And it's, let's see, I think some of them are being, what's up to me? Okay. Shiva says, is it always the dramatic, the expressive, the novel that wins over an audience when it comes to a line, monologue, or even the play as a whole? Any examples, cases of simpler monologues without too much sparks flying that do a great job? Of course, Shiva. You know, I mean, of course, there's a lot. It really, as a writer, it depends on your style. It depends on how you want to do your storytelling. And of course, they don't have to have big sparks. But why I teach sparks is about understanding dramatic narratives, which is turning points, hooks, how to describe other characters. So even if you are writing a mellower monologue, you still want these things to come alive. And in fact, I would say Thomas's monologue that we heard Nisa read out, it didn't have those big, there are no guns, there's no big sparks, but it still has a turning point, which makes you think about the touch. It made you think, very well described where the scenario happened, the mask, the gloves, the shop, the encounter where the touch happened. So I push you sometimes to the dramatic, but also because the structures of the learnings in there and the tips are useful for all kinds of monologue writing. So I hope that answers some of your question, but of course, find your voice, find your style. There are different audiences to reach out to. Not everyone is about action films, and you will find your audience, absolutely. Okay, let's see if there was one more question. How effective? Manan, very tough question. How effective are literary techniques in monologues, and which are the most effective ones? What would you mean by literary techniques? So I am actually a very bad literature student, and I write and create stories really from a very, as I said, a performance base, which is why I took you through this work. My grammar is terrible. I'm dyslexic, so if you saw slides with spelling mistakes, I'm sorry about that. But I would love to know what you mean by literary techniques. And then if you can elaborate that, I will answer that question as well. Kanak asks, as an actor who has just started learning the craft of acting, I've been told multiple times in the last few months that it's important to be able to write our own monologues. What's your take on it? Kanak, I've been an actor for 20 years, and most of the time I was doing other people's writing. And I think there's merit from the works of great writers. And there's merit to that because one is, it's great to read the language, very high level of skill in the writing. That is why they are writers and maybe we are actors. So there's a lot to learn from that. But as actors, we can expand our repertoire of interest to practice writing. Maybe that will make us discover more about character work, make us discover more about character motivations, how it fits within a plot. So for the love of writing and for the love of storytelling, it's well worth doing the exercise. But I think there's definitely, we must not think that we write the best monologues, and so now we will only do our monologues. To understand that these great playwrights, historically and even the contemporary writers, they do such a great job of creating amazing stories and characters, and we should read them, and if we get a chance to do them, it's great because it's wealth, it's gold. So do both. Okay, Achim, when a monologue is implemented into a conversation between two or more people, will it be recognized as a monologue? Only when one can see using some of the tools. Sure, Achim, yes, it can be in a larger scene. So like say, for example, in Merchant of Venice, in the court scene, Shylock has a monologue. Portia has a monologue, and but the audience of the court is there. It's not that they're revealing their innermost thoughts, but they're really speaking to the scene. Shylock talks about justice, Portia talks about justice, and there the monologue means that it's a long piece of text. It's the speech, it is a big statement that they get as a character to put out there in the plot. So you'll find a lot of films do that, right? A lot of the courtroom dramas, a lot of even sports films where the coach then gets a whole monologue in there where he's giving the pep talk to his or her team. You have a lot of web series now using the art of monologue where a scene is happening and then the character looks straight into camera and does a monologue and then goes back to the scene. So the monologue is used nowadays as a funky style. It's come back almost. It's back in fashion, I'd say. Yes, so you can do it within scenes with other people, and it's a long extended speech that one character gets to do. Ved, does a monologue have necessarily to be in a stream of consciousness? Not necessarily, Ved. Like I was saying, if you go and read some of the texts of Shakespeare, who's a master of monologues, again, going back to Merchant of Venice, which is ends in a courtroom drama, it is not stream of consciousness. It is a very conscious set of text that the character says. Portia says she makes a case for why Shylock does not need that pound of flesh, or she makes a case, she says, you can have the pound of flesh, but you can't draw blood. And if you can take the flesh of Bassanio without drawing blood, fair, you can do it. So that's a monologue. She takes a long time to speak about it. And so, yeah, it's not surreal. It's very real. It's very there, but it's a long piece of text. So, yes, I hope that answers your question. I'd love to watch Elephant in the Room, says Sonal. Oh, you have seen Elephant in the Room. Thank you so much for that. So Elephant in the Room is almost in many ways, there's lots of monologues in there from different characters of the story. It was also a device by which I was a solo performer, could tell an entire story without other actors as well. So the device of monologues allowed for an entire narrative to be born and an entire story to be born. Okay. Okay. Somebody had a really nice question there. Okay. From Mithil. I was writing the Red Riding Hood monologue. I couldn't articulate at the very moment. What impulse is needed to push ourselves to write something? That's a really good question sometimes. And it's many things, Mithil. For me, what really worked is actually I learned how to get into writing from a non-writer. She was a yoga teacher of mine, and she told me she had a journal in which she would just write in the morning from beginning to end. And she says, I don't decide what I'm going to write. I don't think too much about it. And most of all, I don't judge myself while writing. And I thought that was really useful for me, myself as a creator, is to not burden myself before I've even tried. And sometimes we burden ourselves because we want it to be really good, or we have anxiety. I hope I can write. So if you can practice just a journal, and you can start with any character or anything, whatever comes to your mind, just start to write and let it be a page or more. Whenever you want to stop. If you only want to write one line, just write one line. We have to take the pressure off, and we need to take the burden of being excellent off and really enjoy it. Sometimes I write with music on, so I put the music and I just go. And know we have second drafts, third drafts we can come back to. You can tear up what you've written. You can love what you've written. You can give yourself a pat at the back for trying. And that's a great way to build confidence in trying to write. So thank you for that question. It has been for me, it took me many years to have the confidence to try and create a script. So I understand what you feel. And just allowing yourself to practice and try it, and being non-judgmental of yourself is one good way in. And there's a book called, yes, this is a suggestion by Sonal. There's a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, which strongly recommends, yes, this kind of journaling. So definitely check it out. I'll repeat, it's called The Artist's Way, and that might help you open up your writing journey. Gun, can you suggest monologues or any websites that I can read and write a monologue? Just type Art of Writing Monologue. The Masterclass series has a lot of great classes on writing. If you look up best monologues, they will open them up. Shakespeare's great. There's a lot of contemporary ones. If you type monologues for auditions, that's another cool way to find some of the best monologues that have been created so far, because actors like to find them, use them for their audition pieces. So again, you can look it up just to study different kinds of monologues. Whew. Who were the two actors? Thomas, yes, they are Nisa Shetty and Vidyut Gargi. Nisa and, oh, they've left the room. Nisa Shetty, Nisa Shetty, and Vidyut. I'm going to write their names here. There we go. And let's write Vidyut. There we go. Thank you for their names. Look them up. Very talented folks. I love working with them as well. I love watching them. And any last questions before we end the session? Dharmesh asks, what is the difference between a monologue and a mono act? A mono act is basically a solo performance, a one-person performance through for the entire show. So I would be the only actor on stage, and I would do maybe many characters, or I only play one character, but basically there's only one actor doing the whole show. And a monologue is a piece of text that an actor or a character gets to speak. It's not a dialogue, so it's not back and forth between two people. It's one character gets a long chunk of text, either sharing with the audience directly as her or his personal thoughts, or within a scene as a long speech. So I hope that clarifies that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the end of the session. And let's close. I want to thank you all. You can also follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram, Yuki Ellias. Instamixed. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I do a lot of storytelling, business communications as a corporate coach and consultant. In case any of you would like to hire me for more workshops and also as a business communications coach to use storytelling for more powerful communication. So I'm just putting out there, and thank you so much for being such an interactive audience. Thank you for sharing your writing. If you were shy and inhibited and blocked this time round, try again in your own time without me doing my monologue. Put yourself in a room, make your room cozy, comfortable, work with the lighting, have a nice beverage next to you, a cup of coffee or tea or a glass of wine. Get into the mood of writing and enjoy it. Don't judge it, enjoy it. We can later, as we progress in our journeys, become better editors, become better critics of our own work, and those are the next set of phases in our writing journeys. Thank you so much, Avid, for having me on for this masterclass. All right.
Thank you so much for doing this. Avid team, if you're there, just let's take that. Sorry, Sagar got kicked out being a host.
That's all right.
It's a pleasure.
I didn't get kicked out
Honestly,
today.
what I wanted to say, and I was trying to get Sagar to let me on at 6 o'clock. I had so many questions for you. I said, we've been doing this for, I think I've been doing Avid for like close to 10 years now, and I think this is our eighth collaboration. And just how versatile you are. I mean, I remember one of our workshops where we had little postcards and post-its written all over the floor and people rolling over our grass, to you seamlessly maneuvering this workshop on Zoom. And I think that's just fantastic. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
just I mean, I was dying to be part of the workshop, but I couldn't. But thank you so much for doing this. I do have to thank a couple of our other parts. And listen, there's going to be a phase 2 for this. You know that, right? You can never hide. You know that from me. But no, honestly, Yuki, thank you for a wonderful masterclass. And we're grateful to our long-term collaborators, Literature Live and Anil Dharkar, Amy, Sahil, for kind of partnering it with us to do this session today. I mean, we had close to 500 people who registered, and a good part of it actually signed up and actually attended part of it. But thank you for the participants. I think they're all obviously left now because we thought they were leaving. But it's such wonderful writing, such to be put on the spot and give these 2-liners and 3-liners. It's not exactly easy. But to all of you all, stay tuned for more engaging programs throughout the week. We have so many more interesting sessions at Avid Online, and our next session is on a discussion on the fascinating intersection between art, science, and technology on the 23rd of July, which is next Thursday at 6 o'clock. And to find out more, just follow us at Avid Learning and go to our website. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and remember that learning never stops. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you.